Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Good morning students. So, today I am going to do another variety of text completion exercises with you, and this will be slightly more complex, complicated. We will be doing triple blank questions. Now, here I expect you to read the whole paragraph before you read the options, like always. Like for every exercise, this is what you should do. This is what the practice should be. Read the whole paragraph before you read the options. Avoid making preconceived judgments about what should go where. Your aim is to find the right word to fit in the right blank, for which you need to know the context. So, context comes first always. You can always expect unusual words as your choices, and do not get scared because of that. This section or this exercise that we are going to do today, generally speaking, you will find lot of such kinds of exercises in your competitive kinds of exams. This section tests your reading comprehension. So, you will have to decide the most suitable words to be placed within the given sentence. Reading your paragraph first will help you find the right word, sometimes even without the options. So, let us look at the first example. Please look at the slide here. Miguel de Cervantes was a Spanish novelist and playwright. He wrote pastoral and adventure novels. His Don Quixote is considered a founding classic of Western literature. The novel also works as or an of the romances of Spanish. Choice 1, genre, edifice, masterpiece. Set 2, satire, recant, itinerant. Third choice, consensus, negligence, royalty. Now, one tip that I can give you is that many of these words may not be familiar to you. So, today you are just learning new words. Open your dictionaries and try to find out the meanings of every word. So, even if you know the exact answer for this particular blank, do not get carried away. Just look at the other choices also and see if you do know the meanings of those words as well, and try to find out the meanings. So, open your dictionaries and you have to work on your own also. See, as teachers, as course instructors, we can give you as much practice and exposure, but at the end of the day it is up to you. It is you who are going to decide what course your career is going to take. So, you have to work hard. Much of the learning, especially of this kind, is self-learning. Reading a simple novel is not going to help you at all. You have to read, as I keep telling you, more complex novels. Start, if you have not already done so, start with the novels of Charles Dickens. Cervantes, who wrote Don Quixote, is also a very popular writer, and Don Quixote is a masterpiece. Read these novels as for starters, and then I will give you examples of more complex novels as well. So, the answers are, first answer 1 is masterpiece. Don Quixote is a masterpiece. And the second one is satire. It is an example of a satire. And the third choice that you were given, the novel also works as a romances. So, negligence, royalty of the romances of Spanish. So, consensus of the romances. So, best choice would be royalty. So, answers are masterpiece, satire and royalty. Focus on the clues in the paragraph. Since founding classic refers to one work, genre does not apply, and masterpiece is more apt for literature than edifice. Similarly, in the context of literature, satire applies more than the other words. Royalty follows the description or descriptor Spanish better than the other options. Now, look at the second choice. Look at the slide please. For much of history and in many cultures, excruciating, invigilating, enlisting professional teachers was an option available only to a small elite. Thus, until infinitesimally, relatively and inextricably recently, the vast majority of people were educated by parents, especially during early childhood. The earliest compulsory, intimate or ridiculous education in the West began in the late 17th century and early 18th century in some German states. Now, what should be the answers? The first answer is enlisting professional teachers. Okay? Use the context, excruciating and invigilating. These teachers, these words do not apply to professional teachers. When you read the whole sentence, the context does not make much sense. So, it has to be enlisting. What is the meaning of enlisting? Recruiting, hiring. Thus, the rest of the paragraph becomes clear as well. And then second answer is relatively recently. This is the way we use, it goes together. Is a word often and is a phrase often used, and paragraph is not negative ridiculous education, because it will give a different context, does not apply. Intimate also does not make sense. So, compulsory education, relatively recently, enlisting professional teachers. Look at the next exercise. Fossils are the preserved remnants, maledictions, escorts or traces of animals, plants and other organisms. They vary in size from microscopic such as single cells to gigantic such as dinosaurs. A fossil normally preserves only a portion of the incongruous, diseased or pretentious organism. Usually that portion was partially mineralized during life. Fossils may also consist, procrastinate, insist of the marks left behind by the organism while it was alive. Answers are remnants, deceased and consist. The first line is made easy because immediately after the blank is given or traces. So, the blank must be a word that is synonym of traces, and remnants applies best since it is understood that fossil are the preserved parts of dead animal. Disease is the obvious answer to the next blank, and the last blank indicates that fossil includes, so consists something else as well. So, consists is the answer. Now, look at the next choice. Salmon live in both the Atlantic and see, this is a variety of fish, and plural for salmon is also salmon. L is silent here. So, we do not say salmons live. Salmon live in both the Atlantic and Pacific oceans, dash Great Lakes and rivers, as well as in addition or just as. Typically, they live in the sea mostly, but dash in fresh water. They are born in fresh water, migrate to the ocean, then return to fresh water to reproduce. This means the fish return to the exact spot where they were born to spawn, modify or reconcile. So, answer should be salmon live in both Atlantic and Pacific oceans as well as Great Lakes. Yeah, see, it would be in addition to, but we do not have it here, and just as Great Lakes and rivers really does not make a very good sentence. Typically, they live in the sea mostly, but breed, we can't say devour in fresh water, segregate or yeah, breed in fresh water. They are born in fresh water, migrate to ocean, because see, next word is born. So, therefore, the blank or the choice breed makes much sense. And then return to fresh water to reproduce. This means the fish return to the exact spot where they were born to spawn, modify, reconcile. What should be the best answer? The best answer is to spawn, S-P-A-W-N. Okay. So, breed and spawn, they are quite similar, synonyms. So, therefore, makes sense. Next exercise. Giant pandas are black and white Chinese bears that are on the verge of dash, indication, accommodation, extinction. These large cuddly looking mammals have a big head, a heavy body, rounded ears and a short tail. Most bears' eyes have round pupils. The dash, dimension, exception, speculation is the giant panda whose pupils are vertical slits like cat's eyes. These unusual eyes inspired the Chinese to call or predicted or reversed the Chinese to call the panda the giant cat bear. So, giant pandas are black and white Chinese bears that are on the verge of extinction. You generally use such words, on the verge of extinction, going to finish. These large, cuddly, etc., and most bears have round pupils. The dash is, now what are we talking about? Is speculation, dimension, the exception is because it is different. This variety is different from the previous, the one that we were talking about. Dash the Chinese to call the panda the giant cat bear. So, not predicted, but inspired. So, extinction, exception and inspired. You have to also look at the grammatical correctness of the blank. So, always go according to that. Next exercise. Although the population of England in the 19th century was riding at an dash rate. So, crepuscular, unprecedented, reprehensible. That of the cities were increasing by leaps. This was due to the effects of the Industrial Revolution. People were dash flocking, abrogating, ensconcing into the towns and cities in search of employment. For some, it was also the call of the unknown, adventure, pliable, abstruse and a better way of life. This period is known to be the beginning of many new things. So, answer unprecedented, flocking and adventure. Remember, where growth is mentioned, reprehensible can apply, but it is evident that the author is talking about a large spurt of growth, therefore unprecedented is the better choice. Large groups of people moving indicates flocking, the people were flocking to the cities. And the third case, the other option do not fit in the grammatically, so it has to be adventure. Look at the next exercise. The Basset hound appeared in France in the first part of the 16th century. The breed got its name from a French word basse, which means low. The rich who had a strong predilection, collaboration, temperance for hunting developed a breed guilty of violating, capable of pursuing, power of entitlement. So, developed a breed animals in dense bush. The breed was recognized in 1885, however, it did not enter the 10 top widely spread dogs in the US. No sooner than in the second half of the 20th century did Basset hounds acquire popularity. Now, the breed is loved for its appearance and its amiable, despondent, mischievous personality. Now, let us discuss the answers. See, the first is predilection. Why? Look at the slide again. The rich who had a strong predilection for hunting, that is a strong tendency for hunting. It is a hobby or activity. Okay, so, it makes sense, and Basset hound suitability is being discussed with a reference to hunting, with respect to hunting. It can only be because it is capable of pursuit. Next choice is capable of pursuing, and the last one is its amiable personality, dog's amiable personality. So, correct answers are predilection, capable of pursuing and amiable. We will move on to the next exercise. Before outsiders first visited their land, they knew nothing about the existence, effrontery, submissiveness of others or the government or the modern life. However, in the 1980s, miners found gold in the region, and soon thousands of miners rushed into the area, which resulted in the extolment, palatability, exploitation of the Yanomamians' homeland. During that time, 20% of them died due to many reasons. Today, they try hard to maintain, sequester and sow their land and traditions, which does not seem so easy to do. Answers are existence, exploitation and maintain. Remember, the phrase outsiders first visited indicates that existence is the right answer. The second blank should be exploitation, since land and the start of mining is mentioned, and the third is maintain, as it is obvious that the author is indicating the community's troubles in keeping their way of life intact. So, existence, exploitation and maintain. Next exercise, please look at the slides. Insects do not have dash as sharp as that of mammals or birds. The insect compound I is more familiar to movement, and so it cannot hilariously, precisely, tangibly position distant objects. So, insects tend to take a rather unsteady flight path to navigate to a particular object. For example, in order to locate the caterpillar, the wasp needs to balance the odor signals, sacrifice accompanied and received by its two antennae. So, insects do not have, it could wings as sharp, vision as sharp, or absorption. The best choice is vision. We always talk about vision as sharp. The insect compound I is more familiar to movement, and so it cannot precisely position distant objects. For example, in order to locate the caterpillar, the wasp needs to balance the odor signals received by its two antennae. So, correct answers vision, precisely, and received. As we have been talking about, the first answer is vision, as the insect's eye is mentioned in the next line. It follows that the second is precisely, because precise vision is what we talked about, and then receive, okay, how we receive the signals. So, that is the more appropriate context. Next exercise, please look at the slide. A last attempt is being made to move the beetles to a specially designed pile of rubble that replicates, resonate their existing habitat, but experts stress that there is only a slim chance that the formation, migration, translocation will succeed. Answers are resonate and translocation. There are two blanks closely connected to each other here. The author talks about moving the beetles and about them surviving. So, replicating the habitat seems likely. Since this is an artificial move, translocation is better choice than migration. Let us look at the next text or exercise. The Gobi is the largest desert region in Asia. It covers an area in China and southern Mongolia. It is famous for its subtle, irrevocable or inhospitable weather conditions. The desert blazes, basins, ponds of Gobi are bounded by the Altai mountains on the north and by the Tibetan plateau to the southwest. Answers are inhospitable and basins. Inhospitable is an easy guess. It is a desert, and deserts are not terribly salubrious places to live in. So, inhospitable, they are harsh conditions. And second is basin, because blazes or ponds are not very common in deserts. Next exercise, as spurious sightseeing, please look up the meaning of spurious also. Sightings of imaginary creatures that have captured the popular mind diminish and tale suggests, however, a story may be once it has been circulated enough times, it will gather a patina of neglect, truth or deceit. So, spurious sightings of imaginary creatures that have captured the popular mind and tale or suggests. What do you think? So, the best answer is suggest here. It is a tricky question, I understand that. You need to read and figure out what is more likely to be true and not just depend on grammar clues. One clue is the word spurious, which establishes that the author's opinion on popular creatures, mythological creatures. So, apocryphal is the more likely word the author would therefore use in the second blank, and then if it exists for a while, then it will come to become truth. So, truth is the right answer. Suggest, apocryphal, truth. Let us look at the slide again. As spurious sightings of imaginary creatures that have captured the popular mind suggest, however, apocryphal, a story may be once it has been circulated enough times, it will gather a patina of truth. So, that is the way you have to write it. Now, let us move on to the next slide. Should philosophy be dash the humanities, beholden to, relegated to, grouped with? unceremoniously dropped alongside the English department, in which the aesthetic reigns triumphant and the analytical usually surfaces as little more than a tick in a novel's more cerebral characters. Apparently, this rhetorical question has been duly answered by the fact that philosophy is subsumed under, unrelated to, superior to the humanities, and not accorded a status commensurate with its logical nature. Argumentative validity on the other and has a subtle effect, little bearing a little relevance on whether we appreciate literature. Answers are relegated to, subsumed under, and a direct relevance. Remember, the author is discussing the fact that philosophy is included under the humanities. Okay, so relegated to, but to it fits in, relegated to fits in with the author's opinion, which can be gauged when you read the whole paragraph, which is that it should not be. Okay, so unceremoniously is the word here, which gives you the clue. In the second case, the author points out that philosophy is not accorded a state it deserves and it is subsumed under, okay, and then it does not have a direct. The last choice shows that literature is enjoyed despite logical flaws, thus illustrating the author's opinion that humanities and philosophy, they do not go together. So, thank you very much, and we will continue with more exercises in our next class.